Hello and welcome to the Ohio State University's esports channel. My name is Connor Julian, better known as Live Studia, and joining me today is Kyle Barta, aka Barrio. How are you doing today, Kyle?
Connor, dude, I'm great. I'm excited to be here, casting another week of C-Law with you. I mean, we got to experience Ohio State go to 3 games last week, and I'm sure we're in for some very similar action.
Couldn't agree more. So, I mean, today's match, it's actually the final game of the regular season for C-Law. It's a very important match tonight. It's going to be featuring the University of Minnesota versus the Ohio State University, and whoever wins this, it's actually deciding who moves on to playoffs and who's out for the season.
Right. I mean, this could basically just be considered the first week of playoffs. They get to have more fun in playoffs than any of the other teams. Unfortunately, not for one of these teams that's going to get knocked out. Now that I say that, but either way, one of these teams is going to move on, and one of these teams is going to get knocked out just after today. So, obviously, as some Ohio State students, we've probably got our biases, but either way, I'm sure both these teams are going to be like bringing the action, trying to, put it all out there, and making sure that they don't get knocked out here.
Right. I mean, making playoffs and any sort of tournament, especially being C-Law, it's a good feeling once you make it out of that group stage, prove yourself to a certain degree. And, that's kind of like where the real games begin, like once you get into playoffs. So this is going to be an important match. You're going to see if Ohio State is able to hold through versus the University of Michigan. Both rosters are actually pretty stacked up, and we are going to be playing on 11.4. So, along with the changes that compared to the previous games we're seeing, we may see each of these teams maybe change up their draft a little bit, or even just their overall play style.
Yeah, that's what I love about these best of 3 series. They're not like a best of 5 where you're just like exhausted at the end, but there's still the adaptation between games. You're not just playing one game, bringing what you got, and then if it doesn't work, you're done. But you get to adapt to like how that team played in game 1. You bring it to game 2, you completely change your strategy, or build off what you have. Your bands could be completely different. So there's just so many adaptations in a best of 3. But it's still not those long grudge matches where you have to at least go 3 games, potentially 5. So I definitely like that there's so much adaptation in these series that you get in C-Law, and I'm sure once playoff hits, then I think we get into the best of 5. Not exactly sure how that format works, but right now this is like the last match or the last week for C-Law's regular season.
I mean, each different type of series is a different beast, right? A best of 1 compared to a best of 3 compared to a best of 5, like those are all different games. I mean, you can easily get a best of 1 through with, some easy cheesing, something they don't expect, catch them off their guard to get a free win. But, those types of strategies are, a lot less easy to get away with when it comes to best of 3 and best of 5s. And especially last week when we were watching the game versus IUPUI, it has a lot to do with that mental strength that comes through when it's these longer games that are getting closer to the 40-minute mark. It is a best of 3 or a best of 5. You can't let some of the mistakes that yourself as a player or a team, anything that happens, you kind of just have to take it on the shoulder and then continue trugging along and just saying like, okay, whatever happens, it happens. We need to finish this out strong. And I'm hoping to see that same type of mental fortitude and that same type of professionalism coming out from these players today.
Right, it's almost like the game within the game. Like we sort of highlighted it. It's like you're not just playing, you're not just playing League of Legends, even though you are. It's you got to keep reassessing your mental state, how your team is working together. Sometimes you might do something in the game 1, and that's still remembered by your teammates in the next game. It's almost like just that little bit of toxicity or whatever. It's sort of hard to come through because you're a team of 5. You're 5 different players wanting to work together as one cohesive unit. Sometimes there's little quirks that happen, and that's one of the aspects of just these series. You're not just all laying it on the line at game 1. You've got 2 other games potentially to bring back what you've already played in game 1. So definitely a lot to this series. And as we move on, we've definitely seen Ohio State, and especially these players, especially you and me, Connor, as we've gotten to do this a couple times together. I'm expecting like a really good showing from them, as last week they went to 3 games. The first game, I believe they actually got wiped out pretty hard by IUPUI, but then they brought it back with a reverse sweep. So Ohio State, as they go up against Minnesota, we'll have to see how these players or what these players have ready for this week.
Yeah, it's showing that that comfort with teams in terms of how much practice they put in together. Especially when you see after if it's a game one loss and you're able to bounce back as strongly as Ohio State had last week, it shows a lot. Like that's a lot of things you can take out of that in terms of seeing the players where it's not just one loss and they're beaten down mentally and it's like, oh, I'm tilted. How am I going to recover?
Right.
This guy's in my head. And especially, it's getting close to playoffs or, the game deciding playoffs. Like there's a bit of nerves that go on there. You definitely don't want to be the one individual player that, oh, I messed up my flash. It cost me my team this fight. Like, oh no, like you never want to have that weight bearing on you throughout a series.
You don't want to be the guy that's flashing into a wall or whatever that is. There's so many things that you'll remember forever when you're playing a game, and even though sometimes your teammates won't, you're just like, do they remember when I flashed? Like, because I was typing and I actually pressed the F key and then I just whatever. There's so many little aspects to the game that might affect how your teammates see you. So I think Ohio State, they've been able to overcome that with maybe practice. We'll have to see how Minnesota with their practice. They are also definitely a cohesive, solid squad. They're in this 4-1 standings chart, how their cohesivity inside the game, and just making sure to play as a team. It is a team game, that's for sure. So we'll be excited to see what's going on there, and maybe as we just sort of progress a little bit further here, Connor, as we maybe talk about the game and this new patch. There's so many changes that have been coming around to the meta, and even in pro play. And as we've sort of been highlighted, this isn't exactly pro play. This is still collegiate level. These players aren't, we're not freaking rank ones and challengers here. We still got some master players and even some low diamonds, just rocking around here. So definitely not the top, but still meta has a huge impact in these competitive games. And I'm excited to see what the jungle changes where you've got more tanks that can be picked up instead of all these carry junglers will affect how these teams decide to play their comps.
Yeah, a lot of people were expecting the jungle nerfs to be a lot more significant and a lot more hard hitting, and as the patch has kind of gone on, people have kind of looked and seen like, it hasn't really taken the role out of the game just yet. I think it's still pretty solid, but there has had to be some adjustments from the players of the role. And as we get into Champ Select here, we're actually seeing not a lot of priority on the jungle. We are seeing that University of Minnesota did opt to ban the Udyr, but otherwise, it's a pretty standard Galio ban that we're going to see from just a lot of teams, especially, if you don't plan on picking it for first pick rotation blue side, you don't want to give it to them. And but I'm mainly looking at the Ohio State University's bans with Zillion and Seraphine taken away. A bit more specific niche bans than maybe we're used to seeing.
Yeah, well, the Zillion, that is definitely targeted towards their mid laner on Minnesota. Gobletto, I don't know how to say that name, but he's definitely a Zillion main. I mean, I think he reached Challenger with that champion. He's got a couple different pocket picks, but you sort of want to take off a pick like Zillion because he can just sort of, really control a team fight with his ultimate, do a lot of things that some, maybe positioning on less experienced Zillion players might not be able to do. And it's also just a comfort pick that they took off the board from him. And the Gragas picked up for Cyborg. I was going to talk about this. He looked really solid on that last week, and I'm excited to see him play that again because that's just sort of a weak side pick that Cyborg can just sort of abuse and not have to draw really any jungle pressure to still play very effectively. As maybe I take that back because Camille's picked up, and that's probably going top.
Oh, actually, it's going to be a bit of a remake, so just buy us a couple seconds here as we talk about it. But yes, we did see Cyborg play Gragas last week, and Gragas is one of those champions. I talk about it with my team, especially where it can be seen as a champion where, especially if you are going more of that tank-oriented build, it's just, a meat shield, it's just there for the crowd control. But you can see a skilled Gragas player. Like, there is a massive difference. I think there is a very large skill ceiling in terms of what you can do with Gragas, and I think Cyborg was showing that. So the client did crash, and that's why we had to, switch off to a little intermission. But we are getting back into the bans. Same bans, probably going to be those same couple of picks. So, but yes, if it is going to be the Gragas Camille lock-in, like you had mentioned, we kind of have to ask ourselves where the Gragas is going to be going. if it's going to be for Chenyu in the jungle. It could even be an AP Gragas mid for Inferno, or even a support Gragas for Moch. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting flex pick to say the least.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, if Camille's actually locked in, that's definitely going top. Cyborg's going to pilot that. It's actually, I think, a little bit of a counter pick from Chimp Ape, the top laner for Wisconsin. Or sorry, Minnesota, my bad, for Minnesota. And yeah, so Gragas could go in the jungle, it could go in the support role. You don't actually see it too often in the mid lane, but just the AP ratios on it is something that you could see. We'll have to actually make sure that is our lock-in. And then on the other side, Minnesota already picking up the Kai'Sa, which sort of has fallen down the ADC priority list. I would have maybe expected the Rel to come in first or something. But Kai'Sa is still a very strong ADC, and we'll have to see what they pair that up with in the support role here.
Yeah, we did see that PSO1, they do have, or the University of Minnesota does have a good amount of experience running the Senna bot lane. So, to avoid any sort of fasting Senna, or just having Senna in the game is pretty obnoxious. So for them to pick up Kai'Sa as a response to OSU banning away Senna, I don't think that's bad at all. They're actually, they're hovering between, some interesting power picks. I mean, they have the Kai'Sa picked up. They're going between Camille and Hecarim as they decide to lock in that Camille that Ohio State actually wasn't going for. I guess there was just some bug in picking that first time, but it does look like it's going to more than likely be Camille and Gragas up in the top lane, and University of Minnesota actually locks in Syndra as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually sort of interested in what Minnesota's doing here. They really sort of spread out their picks. They got their solo laners, they got their ADC, so they're still leaving open their jungler and their support pretty clearly. There's no really flexibility, so that's just going to allow OSU to sort of target ban who they don't want to see on the enemy team here going into the later parts of this draft. But on the other end, we've seen Inferno with Echo. That's definitely a power pick for him. He can play aggressive. He probably knows the Syndra matchup very well. Syndra is a super common solo queue pick and just pick up by a lot of mid laners. So we'll have to see how Inferno matches up, because this is the matchup that we were sort of analyzing before the cast started. This might be the most explosive part of the entire game, because both these mid laners are really, really good. And if one can get ahead, they might just be able to steamroll the game from there.
Absolutely. It does look like that Minnesota is assuming that it's probably going to be a Gragas top, taking away probably going to be a couple supports from Moch here as they take away the Thresh, and OSU decides to opt for the Rel ban, which I think is fantastic, mainly because not only is Kai'Sa Rel a strong lane, but a lot of people are starting to discover how Rel works and how scary it is. Like, as the champion was released, I mean, people had no idea. They're like, this, all it does is like knock people up and like has this weird drag for a second. But then it's like, oh wait, this thing, as we saw from Moch last week, this thing 1v9s.
Right. I mean, literally, if you were watching any of the professional games from this weekend, just the adaptation from once Rel was, brought into the game to how players are using her now is insane, because just the flash W animation is getting so crisp by some supports where the enemy team can't even like notice it's happening, because it's happening so quick, and he drags them all in. It's just such a strong champion. I'm glad they banned that out. And now we see Chenyu picking up the Hecarim. That's a sort of a good blind pick, because you don't really know what the enemy team is going to be doing with the jungle here. And now you're just leaving the support for yourself, which I always really like to see when teams counter pick support, because it sort of just allows you to have a much stronger bot lane when you're not just, picking a melee matchup into a range and just getting, dumpstered the entire laning phase because of it.
Ooh, the Skarner lock-in from Minnesota. Definitely a very annoying pick to have to deal with, usually forcing your carries to have to spend that 1,300 gold on Quicksilver Sash.
And the tax collector's in.
Yeah, tax collector's in. So Skarner's here, ready to have OSU pay up a little bit. And I am curious to see if this is actually going to be Steve on Lucian AD carry. Usually when we've seen Lucian a lot in the past, I would argue to say, like, for the majority of the past, not just season, but the previous one as well. But we've seen a lot of Lucian in solo lanes, a lot of mid-top Lucian, able to bully the solo lanes a lot more effectively than we've seen him down in the bot lane. And it's a pretty aggressive bot lane matchup. I mean, both Kai'Sa and Lucian are champions that are designed to kind of get in your face to, like, it's not something like a Jinx that, you're wanting to kind of kite front to back till you get a reset, and then you kind of run forward. It's like, no, these guys are planning to go in And it is going to be a Lucian bot lane, as one of my favorite combinations to bring along with it is going to be the Lucian Braum for OSU versus Minnesota's Kai'Sa Alistar. So that's honestly like a really cool matchup to be able to see, as you had mentioned, with the Echo Syndra in the mid lane with, I believe Goblito is how I'm going to try to pronounce his name, versus Inferno.
Yeah.
And, I'm curious about OSU's comp. I kind of see the idea of Minnesota's a bit more. There's a lot more pick potential with not just the Skarner ulti, obviously, and the annoying Camille ult for Lucian inevitably have to deal with. But OSU, they kind of have this like deep dive with the Echo Hecarim, and then they have a bit of the disengage with the Braum Gragas. So I'm kind of wondering to see how they actually utilize, if they're going to look for specific picks, if they're trying to disengage anything they don't want to have to deal with, or what OSU's plan is.
Yeah, I mean, if you take a quick look at Ohio State's comp, it definitely sort of feels like, oh, by the time mid-game rolls around, you sort of want to have that lead and then maybe push that into, Barons and Dragons. You already have those leads because you sort of have a pretty good comp to get ahead with. I feel like Echo is sort of going to steamroll the game. Lucian Braum, obviously an aggressive bot lane that I think could bully Kai'Sa Alistar, especially in a couple of those early exchanges, just because of the power of their abilities and the passive from Braum. But I feel like on the other side, we see Minnesota with some pretty good scaling across the board. You got Kai'Sa, you got Camille. Both those champions sort of do really well with some items under their belt. Syndra is no slouch with items. She'll be blowing up people, I'll tell you that. And the only thing that I'm sort of like interested in is a Skarner pick, because it's a really good pick in that mid game when the greedy ADC decides not to buy QSS and goes for that 2-item power spike earlier. Then the Skarner is really effective because you don't have that QSS. But if the Skarner isn't used that well, once that late game rolls around and Ohio State might have this pretty big lead with their comp, then he's going to feel pretty useless. So we'll have to see how Minnesota gets use out of that Skarner and how Ohio State sort of adapts to it. I think that's something that we really got to be watching for, and when those Skarner ults are going to, scream, "Get over here!" and he drags someone under tower or whatever. We'll have to see how that pick is effectively used, because sometimes it can just sort of fall flat on its face.
Well, in terms of the draft, I mean, I like the side of both comps, but I actually am going to lean towards OSU's a bit more, just because there's a bit more of like the skirmish capability of like Echo Hecarim, and I think Minnesota, when you draft these types of comps like Syndra, Camille, Skarner, so many champions that are reliant on the ultimate ability, you have to have your actions or like your plans of engagement of working around those ultimates. If you don't have those up, if you can't like go into a play saying like, hey, listen, we're going to Skarner ult this guy, we're going to throw some additional CC on him, Syndra's going to burst him down, and then, or if it's, something top lane with Camille and a bit of a 2v2, like we need to make sure we Camille ult this guy. Like if you don't have those tools and then you try to make plays happen, that's where it goes south very quickly, because then you're trying to do things that the comp you just drafted, that's not the reason you drafted it type deal.
Right, and so now we'll have to take a look at how maybe Chenua on the Hecarim can enable his comp, because like you said, we talked about earlier, Inferno on the Echo against Syndra, and I forget the Gobete or something was his name, on the Syndra. That's going to be a big matchup, and maybe we'll see Skarner, who doesn't really have the greatest ganks, level 3, maybe he gets that stun off, but really where's the damage coming from? You'd like to see his ultimate do a lot more effective utility. But on the other side, Hecarim and Chenua. So that's like where we're going to see a lot of this, early game pressure, I feel like, from both junglers. And actually, if you think about it, how is Skarner really going to kill Echo with that ultimate? They'll probably get ultimate about the same time. Echo's just able to jump back. So it's actually sort of a tough matchup to focus as a Skarner, but I feel like that's where we're going to see a lot of pressure.
We did see Inferno was able to utilize Echo ult very effectively in the previous game we saw him on, where it's so situational too, because you can have the idea in mind to where it's like, hey, I want to position my Echo ult to where when I do activate it, it's actually landing the damage, because it does like 900 damage. Like Echo ult does crazy damage, but at the same time, it could also just buy you, just like the thematic of the champion of buying yourself a couple seconds, getting your health back. I mean, we saw where he was able to dive 2 turrets, almost one hit Ezreal, and then ult back like nothing happened. Like, champion has insane capabilities. But otherwise, I mean, I really do think, it's going to be, for Minnesota, you're going to have to really put a lot of the eggs in the basket of Fed on this Skarner, I think. You have a lot of tools to follow up on a Skarner. I mean, you have the Syndra Scatter the Weak for the stun, you have Camille Hookshot, and you have Alistar Headbutt Polarize. Like, I think all three lanes for a Skarner are very, very gankable. I think it's harder for Chenua actually to get some of the ganks off in this early game, but I believe they will be more effective in the 2v2, the 3v3, or even the objective fights around Herald as well as Dragon, that I think their comp shines a little bit more.
No, I can totally agree with that, and I feel like every game we talk about has Mock throws out a little Q. Maybe there's someone hiding in that bush. I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, we'll have to see where these junglers match up. And something that we should actually take a quick look at is Inferno with the Ignite on the Echo. No flash. That is definitely an aggressive Echo. We're probably going to see a pretty volatile matchup as hold on.
Speaking of aggression, already in the bot lane, the level 1 Braum Lucian taking Little Chimp to less than half health with that cheese and the Tribe Rush there. And I mean, you got to keep in mind to it, especially as a bot laner, if there's a chance that they're going to cheese, you just assume they cheese, dude. You just you go the long way. You have to give your jungler a little bit less of a leash to make sure you get to lane in time for experience. But I mean, this makes the lane so much harder for Little Chimp. He actually has not popped any potions yet, so he's still holding on to that sustain. But that's not going to be the case for long.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, Alistar sort of has some built-in sustain. Not the worst thing to get the trade. I mean, if PS01 was the one that got stunned up there, it might have been a different story. You actually might have seen a summoner blown. So not the worst thing when it goes onto an Alistar. You just got that built-in sustain. But Ohio State, obviously, if you already take another look down towards that bot lane, they are pushing in. They are going to keep up this pressure in the bot lane. Just with that Braum Lucian is so strong early.
Yeah, and as you did mention with Inferno's summoners of taking Teleport and Ignite, we have seen this from more often than not, a lot of top laners on things like Camille that they want to establish a lead, but at the same time, they still want to have the mobility of that teleport. And it makes it a little scary. You are so much more susceptible to a jungler without flash, so we'll see if Fed is able to utilize that as Chimpape up in the top side is trying to take down Cyborg, who's taken pretty low, and Fed flashing forward is going to have Cyborg respond with his own flash and get away with his life for now.
Yeah, that's a really good trade for Fed. I think, he's just a jungler. He doesn't really care about his flash. He probably won't be able to get off as many this early gank effectively, but that's going to allow Chimpape to play much more aggressively with the Camille into the Gragas. Definitely a good matchup. We're going to see a lot of these little engages by Little Chimp at the bot lane. Just on the Alistar, sort of when they're clumped up, very easy for him to do that. Now we're just
I was gonna ask you because it's pretty spicy to see. You were talking about the Skarner's flash, and I do agree it is nice for a jungler to trade flash for a flash. Does help the laner out a bit, but we do notice he has Hex Flash actually, and Goblito actually with his own flash may have to use it over the wall, but he actually holds it, just looking Chenua right in the face there. That was pretty brave.
Yeah, Goblito, I was realizing with Syndra, it's actually super not that scary to be ganked by a Hecarim because he basically just has to run at you. That's his only thing. He pops the E and then he runs at you. You just use Scatter the Weak and then they're just, they don't really have any option. They'll just dash away and then usually their E cooldown is done by that point. So not the best lane. You sort of have to come from a surprising angle. And then as you were just talking about with Fed on the Skarner, the Hex Flash, I actually think that's a really good pick. I don't know exactly what they usually run, but it allows you to maybe get those Skarner ultimates from over a wall, just like you would see a support engage on Hex Flash. Very similar.
Is he going to do it now, though? He's coming around the bot side. He's not even going to need the Hex Flash. The best Steve tries to get away. They do get the Braum passive down on him. Little Chimp pops the Ignite and gets the stun off on a Moach, but he's going to be able to put the shield up, and the heart is the strongest muscle as the Kai'Sa does get hit by that Braum Q. The second auto lands from Steve, but being able to turn a jungle gank 2v3, not too shabby, as actually we're not done yet. The Little Chimp does go in. Not going to be able to get the stun off on a Steve. He does have the Aftershock as opposed to the Phase Rush, and it looks like that Steve and Moach are holding their ground, and they ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, it's actually a really, really good thing for the bottom lane, or the entire team of Ohio State, as there's just so much aggression in this bot lane. We continue to see fighting, as I don't think that anyone should die here, but Steve's still getting aggressive.
They're playing aggressive, and I love to see it. You love to see the confidence from the players, understanding and knowing the matchup they have, and Chimp knows his matchup up in the top side. Cyborg's going to heal a little bit more. The flash with the Q auto reset is going to result in Chimp from Minnesota getting first blood.
Yeah, I mean, that all goes back to that gank from Fed earlier. He blew flash, but he also blew Cyborg's flash, and that means that he could not get out of that gank. Cyborg really wanted to push that wave in before he got his own reset off. And so now he's in a pretty tough position as, you know, Chimp's super happy just freezing that wave up there, not doing anything about it. And now we see Chenua looking towards the bot lane. He's actually gotten a pretty good gold lead, or farm lead at this point. This could be a potential kill.
And I'm looking like a kill towards Little Chimp. That's going to be him following the best Steve, picking up his first kill of the game with the help of Chenua and Moch there. And, you know, as you were talking about the aggression in this bot lane, it's so crazy to see that, you know, Steve is constantly dashing forward. You know, the Relentless Pursuit is literally going forward every single time in this lane so far with nothing but a Doran's Blade. So, you know, backing with 54 gold right now, you know, 7 minutes into the game, like, this is going to be a juicy buy for him and probably a little bit worrying for PSO1 and Little Chimp down bot lane.
Yeah, the only unfortunate thing you can think about that is he actually didn't get the first blood. He's gotten a kill, but not the first blood, not that little bit of extra gold. It's actually, I think Cyborg... Okay, he's fine. Fed still does not have ult. He was looking for the gank, but I think you just sort of wait until you get level 6 here to try to pull up another gank. He is trying to make sure, maybe pick up another kill on Cyborg before that flash comes up. But with Chenua moving towards his top lane, I don't think that that's too much of a possibility right now. And something that we didn't even get to talk about, but Chimp is actually looking really good on this Camille into the Gragas combos. It's definitely a good lane for her. And that's sort of like just one of the only spots that you're like, oh, this could go bad for OSU, because I feel like a lot of their lanes are really good for them. And this is where, you know, the weak side, potentially, this is the side that Minnesota wants to attack.
Yeah, we did see with the Skarner up there, and you can see the wards on the map as well, but we did see the pings of communication from OSU where they, like, Cyborg was aware that Skarner was top. He's not going to be putting himself in any susceptible position already from the deficit he's already having to face. You know, he is down a considerable amount of CS to Chimp right now. It's a bit of a hard matchup, but again, you know, you're not really picking Gragas for the lane specifically. You're picking it for the rest of your team and, you know, what you're able to do with the various crowd control and damage you can bring along with it.
Yeah, just try to sort of soak up that pressure. And now we just take a sort of a quick look at these junglers, and, you know, we talked about what can they do, and we've seen both of them sort of actually get a gank off, even though Fed was a delayed gank. He did it earlier, and then it sort of paid off for him later. But now it's almost like a 20 CS lead. It's actually exactly a 20 CS lead. That's like, you know, 5 camps in the favor of Chenua. And this Hecarim's going to be really strong later into this game. You know, maybe Skarner with a more effective ult is stronger. And so, oh my gosh, Inferno almost just get popped by Syndra here.
Yeah, Goblito was seeing if he can get the 1v1. It does look like the Skarner is actually going to be able to get over the wall with the help of the plant, steal away that air dragon. Chenua tries to ult in on the PSO1, but is not going to be able to get him. Instead, they're just going to turn on Little Chimp. But oh my goodness, that was a little bit of a roller coaster of emotion. We did not expect Minnesota to pick up that first dragon, but here we are.
Yeah, Chenua, I think, smited it down to 40 HP too early. And although Steve's going to pick up a kill in the bot lane, that's going to feel very good. As now he's 2-0-1, a kill being credited over Chenua earlier.
Ooh, some spicy stuff going up on the top lane there. A nice casket from Cyborg. He's gonna have Chimp go under his turret, but they're still trading back and forth, and that true damage coming out from the Camille is no joke once she has that sheen. And as you did mention, we did see Steve picking up his second kill down there in the bot lane. It had to be done very aggressively, him flashing under the turret after the Kai'Sa had ulted, but he was able to secure it, especially with the help of that Braum passive. And right now, OSU do have about a 1k gold lead.
Yeah, and that, honestly, it could be much bigger if that dragon didn't go over. You know, just a miss smite by Chenua. It happens to the best of every jungler. Just smite a little too early, but something that I, talked about in the champ select is Lucian or Steve gonna buy this QSS, because we could potentially see him get picked off, that shutdown go over with just Fed hitting a good, Skarner flash ult. They're not too hard to do. It's, really only 2 buttons you press to get that combo off. But if he goes for the QSS early here, it might just completely shut down what Minnesota was trying to do with their Skarner. we'll have to see if he's too aggressive or wants to go for that 2-item power spike.
Funny enough, though, despite it only being 10.5 minutes into the game, we are seeing a bit of a lane swap. Minnesota's bot lane is still bot lane. However, we see them facing off against Cyborg, while Steve and Moch are in the top side of Minnesota, actually, working with Chenua to be able to secure that Herald right now, as Kai's able to pick up a plate. But otherwise, looks like that OSU is at a good amount of control of getting, maybe not the first dragon as the objective, but picking up this Herald. Probably going to be sending it top to get those plates and maybe get the game rolling a little bit faster.
Yeah, and they're even rotating their members up towards this top. I believe that they are going to drop their Herald top, and I just really love the lane swap that you talked about, because it allows them to prioritize towards... Oh, is Fed going to go for the... Oh, he went for the Hex Flash, so it wasn't that big of a deal. Dropping Smite.
Yeah, you did talk about, the Skarner ult against this Lucian, but what happens when you have to ult the Hecarim and a TP is coming out from OSU as a whole team fight? The Syndra Unleashed Power is going to be able to just completely blow up Chenua as Skarner falls, and the best Steve is looking so low, but Cyborg bringing Syndra back into the team, and the calling is going to be the Steve on a killing spree as a fantastic 4v3 dive happens at the top side, bringing OSU victorious.
Yeah, I don't care if Cyborg dies a million times in lane, because when he can hit those ults on Gragas, those pixel perfect ults, as the Red Shard actually wasn't dropped because I think Chenua fell, now that I realize, so they could have actually gotten that tower if he didn't, or dropped the Rift Shard earlier. But yeah, just those pixel perfect ults on Gragas really sort of changed the team fight, because they were able to then pick up Syndra, get that kill, push in the wave, get a ton more gold onto Steve. I'd be interested to see what the gold values here on each of the champions. But that was just such a successful fight for Ohio State.
No, absolutely, and I do not think that Minnesota was expecting it to go that far south that quickly. We did see that, Fed was wanting to get, a little bit antsy. He's walking up, throwing down the Chilling Smite on the Steve. He's thinking, maybe I can get a good ult here. We can get a pick off onto this Lucian with the 300 gold bounty as of right now. And instead, once we see the OSU members actually coming down through the bot side of their own jungle, Fed panics a little bit and he says, okay, you know what? I'm going to ult this Hecarim, which he does. He gets stunned up, and then Syndra ults him, which, was successful. They were able to take Chenua out of the fight, but Minnesota needs to realize there's a lot scarier threats than just the Hecarim right now.
Yeah, and even if Hecarim was ahead, he's still, before he dies, there's really no way that they can burst him to that level, just because the Syndra's burst is more of like it takes a couple seconds. Chenua was able to ult through a fight, and that's where a lot of Hecarim's power comes from, is, fearing up an entire team fight and letting the rest of his team do a lot of work. Obviously, there's a lot to his kit, but that's just one thing where, if you're going to go for him, he's still going to be able to get most of his utility out, as maybe Cyborg in a tough position here.
Yeah, he's in a tough position, getting Skarner, Syndra ulted, and Camille Chimp Ape is going to be able to take that kill for his own there, as the second dragon is about to spawn. Both teams are posturing around it, and we see so many pings of communication going down here. As the best Steve trying to take out this bot side turret. PS is a little resistant and trying to let him get away with this. Here comes Chimp Ape with Little Chimp. Funny enough, trying to see if they can punish the Steve. Moch is here to see if they can actually help him out, but the Dash Gale Force is going to be able to close that distance to bring him to safety, as it looks like Minnesota, they are still on the second drag. The Skarner is over here. Chenua is on the side with Moch, ready to see if they can get a fight started. Chimp Ape does have it. And actually, the Unstoppable Onslaught is going to result in Chenua picking up the second dragon, getting that Mountain Dragon for OSU, but Fed is going to be able to take down that Hacker, and Moch is looking so very low as well. So much damage is coming out from the Camille. Hook shot over the wall is going to be able to close that distance, and they are able to take down Moch. Inferno is on a killing spree of his own on the other side there, but Chimp Ape is in some trouble of his own, as Inferno is on a rampage, picking up yet another kill, while poor Steve is left to the Alistar to his own defenses as he gets bopped in the face with a big shutdown, actually going over to Little Chimp, funny enough. But after all that, it's now dead even in Dragons after that massive little skirmish there.
Yeah, dead even in Dragons. It did go over to Ohio. It's actually a 3-for-2 in favor of Minnesota, once the dust all settles there for them. But, it was a really, really close fight. I actually think Cyborg's camera was a little off position because you saw him sort of just run in a little AFK into that fight. But eventually he snapped back. And with all that, I think it's still a pretty positive trade. You pick up the tower at the end of the day. you get the Drake. Now Ohio State's sort of fitting into this mid-game position that I was talking about with the gold lead. It's a little bit under 5,000, or, I guess not 5,000, 2,000, 3,000 for them. And now they're just going to try to push this into getting more towers, getting some vision down, and then being in a much stronger position for this next dragon fight.
Something that is interesting to mention that we do not see any Quicksilver sashes built by the side of OSU yet.
Yeah.
However, we do see 3 people with Merc treads. So a lot of tenacity is being prioritized on this OSU squad as Inferno tries to put some of that to use as he's going in on Goblito there, and he's here with Chenua and Cyborg. They just can't make anything happen just yet. They're threatening it, but right now they're just going to back off and play it a bit safer now.
Yeah, nothing really too much of that. Inferno loses his ult, but he's probably going to be pretty comfortable getting that back quite quickly. He is the master of time. I don't think some time cooldowns are going to affect him that much. And now, like you said, the QSSs have not really come out, but Fed hasn't really been able to get onto anyone, especially like Steve. I don't really know where he used it last fight around the Dragon. I wasn't paying attention to that. He might have gotten use out of that, but he's really got to make sure that he's picking off someone like Steve or like Inferno earlier before this fight even breaks out, and that's how you sort of get use out of a Skarner pick, is completely sort of picking someone, putting them completely out of the fight, and then moving from there. But if you have to like trade your own life for it, it's not that worth it.
Yeah, we do see there's a lot of potential for picks that keep going down. We're seeing the Alistar constantly hex flashing over the wall. We're seeing Skarner running into these lanes, but no one's actually committing to anything. I think there's a bit of nerves here in that. The game is still relatively even with OSU still having a bit of an advantage, especially as they secure this Rift Herald here. But, both teams, it's not just Minnesota, but also Ohio State, they're wanting to be very careful and precise with the plays they make from here on out.
Yeah, I mean, they do have that lead, like you said, and I think that they are definitely going to look to force these fights around Dragon. But they're still, they're still a Skarner, they're still an Alistar, they're still a Syndra. They can get picked off there easily if they overstep their bounds here. And so I think, like you said, they're going to be pretty smart about this. Picking up that Rift Herald is just another way to sort of enable what they're trying to do. They're trying to safely grab towers, not overextend for them. A Rift Herald charging, crashing into a tower like a siege. Not like a siege man, just like a battling ram. It's definitely one way to safely grab these towers. So I'm expecting Ohio State to group up here, maybe around mid, and try to force down this mid tower before Dragon. That's only about a minute away.
We do see that the first Quicksilver Sash actually comes in from Inferno here, and Moch actually looking to go a bit aggressive. The Brahmo goes wide, but a very good killer instinct. Buys him a couple seconds, but you're not going to be able to fake out Steve as he picks up yet another kill off onto this Kai'Sa now, and it is now a 5v4 as they try to siege up mid here. The Rift Herald is popped. Is Fed going to do anything on the Skarner? Little Chimp is here on the side. The Rift Herald gets the charge, and that's the turret gone, and I don't think they're going to be able to get anything unless this Hex Splash over the wall maybe scares them away a little bit, but OSU is standing strong, and they're not too afraid of this Minnesota squad.
Yep, and now they have the player advantage right before Dragon, and you see Cyborg still with the teleport in top lane, can teleport into this. If there's anything crafty happening, I don't think he's even going to need to expend it. As at this point, with all the gold that sort of has been happening, Chimp Ape quietly getting a little bit of a lead in the top lane, but I don't think it's even that much. Cyborg's just so tanky, he's able to tank up probably most of this.
Ooh, oh my goodness, the ultimatum coming out from Camille, dodging that Gragas cast might actually result in getting this kill if he can get the one last Q auto up, but the Cyborg gonna flash and the hook shot is gonna stun him. Getting a kill for Cyborg while Fed picks up another, but because he's on the top side, that's the third dragon, or OSU's second dragon, being secured down in the bot side. So man, we talked about it last week, but watching Cyborg on Gragas has been fantastic, but alternatively, I mean, I've loved watching Chimp Ape here on Camille, like especially the micro that's coming out from this guy top lane is actually really cool to see. He's very comfortable in this Camille.
Yeah, I mean, he basically jumped the knockback, which is, not that the knockback's sort of easy to see, but the damage as well, because the damage sort of applies right before the knockback hits, I believe, on Gragas' cast. But either way, so it almost looked like Chimp Ape was going to come out. Cyborg just flashing the W animation, getting close, bringing down the W, and just killing Camille was really, really good by him. So just being able to trade that 1-for-1 was really big, but something that we also need to highlight, Steve's still not with the QSS, and Fed just blew Flash again. So that's just another, going to be tough for them because Steve being so aggressive, not getting this QSS could put Ohio State in a tough position. But with Fed with no Flash, not really that big of a deal. You got the Hex Flash, I guess, yeah.
Right, yeah, as you mentioned before, you can utilize that Hex Flash in some cheesy ways that a lot of teams may not anticipate. I've definitely seen some players that are actually very efficient at Hex Flashing and really make it seem like it's a completely OP spell where it's like, man, how do I deal with this? But we haven't seen that too much from the Skarner just yet as they're actually positioning around Baron a little bit. Moch might be in trouble, but he scans him out. Does see the Death Bush coming, and that's able to... he's able to walk out of it for now. And again, the OSU is just wanting to hold on to this gold lead they've got right now. They do see Infernos in the bot side, trying to bully this Camille as they get pressure around Baron. And otherwise, they're looking good, and they don't want that to go awry in any sort of way.
Oh, wow. Chip is doing some serious damage. I was about to comment, I think this is a pretty good assignment for Inferno. He's super far ahead. He's going to be able to match this Camille unless he might die here. I'm expecting him to
1v1, and both ults are popped by Inferno and Chimpe. The Ignite is on Chimpe, but Inferno, one more auto is going to result in him being unstoppable, and he cannot be stopped as the rest of OSU decides to look towards Baron, knowing that Minnesota is one less member down. As they are able to spot it out, but it is being started, and Inferno does have the teleport available. He is popping it right now. Moch is trying to get a fight started with that ult. A massive 3-man headbutt pulverize is going to come out from Little Chimp. And there's PSO1 stunned on the side. Chenyu are going to be able to take out the kill. The Bestie flash over the wall does get that Braum stun off, and Inferno is dominating as the culling is popped, and they're just going to decide to turn for Baron as 13-7 OSU begins to dominate this game.
Yeah, Chip going a little too far. I think he overestimated his power, and Inferno is exactly like I was talking about. This is a good matchup for him. He's just like, Kyle, let me make everyone a visual learner as he just picks off Chimp while that's happening. Now they're gonna try to 3v5 this, and I don't think they really have any reason to do that.
Yeah, no reason to do that, especially once you have Cyborg on the front lines. Another beautiful cast to, bring one of the members of Minnesota right into the hands of OSU. So good to see. I am just honestly floored that this guy's Groggis does not get banned more often, but taking a look now, I mean, the gold lead was, pretty minuscule for most of the game, or some people would argue that 1K isn't even minuscule, but for the most part, it was still pretty winnable until now. You're looking at a 7K gold lead in favor of OSU.
Yeah, and still we see Steve, we still see, actually he just picked up the QSS. I was about to say, he's been a master tax evader this entire game, but now he's finally being able to pick it up. That's going to feel really bad for Fedis. Now he finally gets his flash back up, and everyone's got QSS. And the only
everybody's got QSS.
Except for Cyborg and Braum. So you're
no.
Cyborg and Mach.
You might want to look again.
And then Mach just picked it up.
There are 4 Quicksilver sashes on the side of OSU. If you are a Skarner, you're sad. But Steve, man, the QSS is gonna save you from the Alistar, dude. Man, I didn't even have time to even witness that. As soon as I saw Little Chip Hex flashing over the wall, I thought there is no way that they get this pick. And listen, that is how Minnesota actually comes back in this. When they're facing this much of a deficit right now, you need to find these small picks. You had to blow the Skarner ulti for that, but that is what we talked about at the beginning. Minnesota, steals away the blue from Cyborg. That was pretty cheeky, but we were talking about how you need to utilize these ultimates in any play aside from utilizing the ultimates of the Syndra, the Skarner, the Camille. There's no point in doing.
No, you're absolutely right. And now Steve's going to come back. He's going to not have that QSS right up for this fight. I don't think that he's actually going to get picked again. I think that was sort of just an unlucky pick. It's going to allow Minnesota to relieve a little bit of pressure, but this is going to be the 3rd Dragon going over to Ohio State, and now they're going to be at sole point for, in 5 minutes from now, and they're going to say, all right, Minnesota, you guys are going to have to come to us in 5 minutes. And I think that's when they're going to sort of try to close out this game because of their gold lead. It's definitely formidable at this point. And just the items that they have under their belt, they've paid the tax. That QSS is coming back up. We'll have to see what Minnesota does as they are flashing everywhere.
Cyborg, maybe, I can't even say in a little bit of trouble just because of how tanky he is. Even if you have the Syndra and the Skarner really threatening to say, like, hey, we're going to take you with us. We're going to come get you. We're going to pick you up. And Cyborg just standing there like, okay, like, what are you going to do? And Steve, also showing his confidence as he's just, you know, popping the Cullen right in the faces of Minnesota here as they're trying to siege up this inner mid turret, as I should say here, and Fed is still available. The two-man knockup coming out from Little Chimp is actually going to buy them some time. The Steve being stunned up, and that Alistar ult is reducing so much damage in the Scatter the Weak is going to be able to buy him some time, but the Unstoppable Onslaught from Chenua is going to be able to pick off that Alistar, and it is now a 5v4. The Killer Instinct from Kai's is seeing if he could be able to pick off Chenua, but he is not able to do anywhere near as much damage as he may have anticipated as Steve picks off the mid-inner turret, and it is still a 5v4 as Ohio State decide to just back off and, you know, count their, you know, their win for that.
Yeah, that was actually, you know, I like the thinking by Little Chimp. We got to try to make the pick. They're sort of a little over-aggressive here. We'll try to do it, and it didn't work. And we take another look at Cyborg. Another really perfect cast is cast right so that Alistar's put into the wall. He gets bursted down. Fed is also pushed away, who was very close to hitting that Skarner ult. I think it would have blew Steve, who still had the QSS up. I think it just came off cooldown, but either way, he was very close to, you know, getting his own CC on there, and they might have been able to kill Steve. Either way, just a masterclass of Gragas ultimates. You know, it doesn't look like that it's that hard, but it's actually very, you know, you got to hit those perfectly at the right time, or you could actually screw up a team fight and put, you know, a tank right on top of all your carries. That's not what you want to see. With all that being said, this game starts shaking out in Ohio State's favor, and in 3 minutes, like I said, that Dragon's coming up, and they're going to want Minnesota to come to the table as they will take that fight.
You know, as we do look at the gold lead, with it being nearly 8,000 gold ahead, you do have to think with, you know, 4 QSSs being built and actually Steve finishing off the Mercurial Scimitar, but so much of that gold has literally just gone into QSSs, which I think is absolutely hilarious, and for the most part necessary against this squad because it shuts down so much of their capabilities of, like, you know, what they drafted for. But at the same time, it's just, you know, so funny not to mention. But right now, you know, you talked about it where I think Soul Point is just going to be the way for OSU to go because it really just solidifies that win. They don't need to go for anything crazy right now, even though they're maybe looking towards topside. But honestly, just, Cyborg actually maybe in some trouble. The Scatter Weak does not get the stun down. The Gragas is going to be able to get that explosive cast, just, you know, be popped on Little Chimp, who really took no damage, actually. Like, I guess after the Alistar passive heal, it actually was just zero. I thought he popped ult for a second, and no. So
yeah, and like you said, that soul, and we have to actually highlight that is an Ocean Soul going over to Ohio State. Is Champ looking? He continues to take these headbutts. I don't think this is a fight that they want to take.
Little Chimp looking like a big chimp with no fear in his heart, able to stun up Cyborg to be able to keep Goblito alive. But here comes the Killer Instinct, and that's actually going to be a shutdown. Inferno falls, and now Chimp Ape gonna be able to Camille ult Steve. Steve has nowhere to go, but Chenua is on a rampage as the rest of the members are able to collapse for Steve. The Braum stun does manage to, you know, just, oh my god, is able to get fed. Goblito is all the way behind his turret. It does not matter as that is one fast pony as Chenua is able to get the ace for OSU as Baron is about to respawn.
Yeah, Baron is on their eyes. That fight should not have been nearly as close as it was. Inferno not getting the ult off, gets bursted right away. I don't even think he QSS the Skarner ult that impaled him, and the rest of the damage came right through. That's really unfortunate to see on Echo, but sometimes that just, you know, that timing cannot happen. You got to be really quick on that ultimate. But other than that, Ohio State still somehow came out on top of that fight that looked pretty bad for them at the beginning. They're just still so far ahead that I think they were able to just power through the damage of Minnesota. And now they're going to have Baron buff. They're going to have everyone wearing purple as they run towards this dragon, and this might just be where they close out the game.
I mean, you know, once you have this dragon, you have this Ocean Soul, as well as having a good amount of that Baron remaining. You know, it's one of the best ways to be able to close out a game. You don't need to wait till the Elder. You know, you have enough items on your carries. If you can actually notice on Steve, he has 4 completed items as opposed to the Kai'Sa only sitting on both Kraken and Collector. That feels so bad, and especially when OSU has drafted this Lucian Braum, they're utilizing it very well, and Inferno actually is going to try to utilize Echo very well as he does get Skarner ulted, but able to, you know, just have that mistake forgiven with Echo ult with Chrono Shift, so that's pretty interesting. Little Chimp is on the backside trying to 1v5 OSU, but that's going to be Ocean Soul going down to him, and Minnesota is desperate. A great explosive cast coming out from OSU's side, where his Chimp Ape tries to buy some time for his team, does get the Camille ult into the hook shot out, And, we do see Kaiser trying to heal, get that movement speed away. Goblito is all alone, and that's actually going to be Steve picking up a triple kill. Is this going to be a repeat of the quadra kill we saw from last week? Maybe not, but it does look like it's probably going to be a victory of game 1 being 23-9 in favor of OSU.
Yeah, that last-ditch effort onto Inferno, I think he was pretty confident. He wasn't going to dive into 5 members again. I guess 4 members, because Little Chimp was off to the side there. And die again for his team. So he was able to pop the QSS, pop the ult, get back to full HP. As now they're just sort of playing with their food. Ohio State's looking to close out game 1 here and reset and come back for game 2 with a new draft.
Just saying that they straight up need a new draft. I think that was honestly just a overall very dominating performance from OSU. I mean, 25-9 is something that's fantastic to see. I mean, it was a little bit slower, it was even for, most of the beginning of the game, only about a 1K gold lead here and there being swung back and forth. But honestly, to, see that game steamroll to the point it was, we saw so many aggressive plays all over the map from literally every single lane. So honestly, for a first game 1, that was a fantastic watch.
Yeah, and we saw some standout performances on both sides, like you said. I mean, Chimp Ape did pretty well in the Camille, but he just wasn't able to get anything going. He solo killed Cyborg, but like I said, it doesn't matter if Cyborg's on the Gragas. It's just hitting pixel perfect ultimates, blowing people up, bringing them back towards your teammates. And then, the scarring pick, really not what we like to see from Fed, because he wasn't able to get too much. A lot of tax evasion happened from many of the carries. And then when they did pay the tax, he was pretty upset because he couldn't really do too much with his ultimate there. And so, just I think a little bit of outplays from the side of Ohio State over how the game progressed, not just comp-wise, allowed them to get that really strong victory in game 1.
And that was indeed game 1. We'll have to see how both teams decide to switch it up, continuing the rest of the series, and we will bring you game 2 of the Ohio State University versus the University of Minnesota right after this short break. So don't touch that browser. We'll be right back. Hello, and welcome back as we're about to get into game two here at the official Ohio State Esports Twitch channel. It's going to be, again, University of Minnesota versus the Ohio State University. And again, Kyle, as we're going into game two here, from what we saw in that first game, what was some of the highlights that you'd like to mention?
I mean, like we talked about, Inferno on this Echo, or the Echo pick last game, really standout performance, I think, on these champions that he's really comfortable with, maybe more aggressive. We've seen some things like the Galio, that just comfort picks, not really an aggressive pick, mix some plays. But either way, he played really well. The only blunder was in that one team fight where he got completely suppressed and couldn't do anything, and just got blown up because Echo's actually a lot squishier than a lot of people think. His ultimate gives him a lot of those tanky stats. But on the other hand, I just think that Ohio State played, like I said, a lot of more outplays effectively. And if Minnesota's able to sort of, come up on the top end of those outplays instead of being the ones getting outplay Ohio State, they might just be coming out on top, because I think that was really the thing that set Ohio State apart. The comps were sort of, Ohio State had an idea and Minnesota had an idea, but just the micro things, I think, sort of changed the game for Ohio State there.
And it does look like that for game two, it's actually going to be a substitute being put in for Minnesota. They are going to be swapping out the junglers. We'll see, how that decides to, switch up their synergy a little bit. We did see that, unfortunately, the draft that Minnesota had done, it was very predictable. We did see, what their, as you had mentioned, what the game plan was. OSU was able to see, like, oh, this is what you guys are planning. We're going to do our best to negate that as much as possible. And they did that successfully by spending, over 4,000 gold on Quicksilver Sashes, making sure that Skarner wasn't getting, any sort of cheesy ults off, picking off Steve. They did get one really good catch up in the mid lane, where they were able to utilize the Hex Flash from Little Chimp for the Headbutt Pulverize, was able to pick Steve off. If we had to see more of that coming out from Minnesota. If they are going to be drafting a similar comp, they need to be in position and set up those types of plays where it's like, bam, we eliminate one player, now we can fight.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the new player, Weiss, for the jungle, we'll have to see if there's any comfort picks that Ohio State wasn't really prepared. It might have to consider banning. They pulled the Zillion, like we talked about, that's a comfort pick, but maybe they have to specify something towards him. I don't really know his champion pool, but sometimes if you got like a Lee Sin in your book and you're like a one-trick Lee Sin, you might just be able to pop off. We saw that last week, so let's see what Ohio State does in that front. But otherwise, I feel like a lot of their picks, the Echo gets banned away, they can sort of stick with those. I mean, I would expect Cyborg to stick on the Gragas again. We've only seen really good performances from that.
I think it's good to take that Echo away from Inferno. He's like, it's not just that he's getting a bunch of kills and everything, it's that he's so annoying. Like, if you watch him, I would just be so irked the entire time. Like, man, this guy's jumping around nonstop. He's a constant threat to anybody he jumps onto. And actually, Minnesota, even though they did take that Echo away, they realized, OSU is actually really good at skirmishes. How could we kind of make it more annoying for them to get away with these little skirmishy battles? And they say Seraphine. So that's definitely going to be something that is a lot harder to just decide to jump in on fights on if they have the utility of that. But as you had mentioned, it's going to be Cyborg back on that Gragas, more than likely, unless it's for Chenua. I don't think so. And Steve is actually picking up the Caitlyn this time around.
Yeah, I was very interested to see that the Caitlyn's picked up. It's a very safe AD carry. You got this long range. You can push your lane, or push the lane once you get a couple items under your belt. No really worry from there. I think the Seraphine was banned last time by Ohio State. Now they are putting that emphasis towards Fiddlesticks. I mean, maybe Weiss is a very good Fiddlesticks player, someone who can sort of carry the game that way. I see Connor getting really excited about that Jinx pick, because that's definitely a champion that could scale, and if you play around, could tear apart teamfights later on.
There's a few champions in this game that, they kind of fell out of flavor over the past few seasons. They haven't gotten, the limelight as much. And something we've seen the return of, one of my favorite champions, is Jinx. And I think in this meta where it is, not just in solo queue, but also in the competitive environment where there's so many skirmishy little fights, I don't think, it is hard to argue if there's any other better AD carry to take advantage of really skirmishy team fights than Jinx. I mean, the marksman AD carry itemization that we've seen come out of this new season, everyone is trying to find like, hey, what really works well, With Steve picking up Caitlyn, we'll probably see the Kraken Caitlyn. But we've seen a couple different builds, like with Jinx just now getting popular again. Like, I'll really be interested to see what PSO1 does decide to do, and if it is going to be a Seraphine support or if it's going to be a Seraphine mid.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that going both places. I think now that they have that flex pick availability, Ohio State doesn't really know where to ban. I was actually expecting 2 bans to go towards mid lane, but with you saying that, I think, oh yeah, if Ohio State just bans out 2 mid laners, they could just throw that into the mid lane itself and then pick a high priority support, because there's still like the Rel available, something that's still super strong, really good for their engage, sort of stops Ohio State from what they want to do, because obviously now they have the Hecarim, they have the Gragas, both sort of for initiation or just zoning fights, while Rel just brings everyone towards her. We'll have to see if they decide to pick that up and throw the Seraphine in the mid lane, but then that's going to have to, where are you going to get your front line? Because Rel can be a front line, but you need someone else there to sort of be the consistent front line while Rel just engages.
Like a Dr. Mundo, as we see locked in for Minnesota. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be one of the better frontliners, because that's all it does is frontline. It's there to sit there, tank up, soak damage. So, it's an interesting pickup for Minnesota. We'll see. And actually, that is a pick I do like to go to finish off this comp for Minnesota, the Orianna in the mid lane. So this is actually, in my opinion, OSU's draft is looking pretty scary. I mean, something like Caitlyn Thresh is definitely a threat in lane, and then of course you have the Hecarim diving onto an immobile AD carry. But man, the utility that's going to come out from a Seraphine Orianna might actually be a little bit troublesome for OSU.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be a really tough thing, as Corki is the last pick. So that means Inferno and the whole side of OSU is really going to be looking for scaling. You got Caitlyn, that's going to scale. You've got Hecarim, that's also going to scale. Corki sort of has to scale because he's not that, he doesn't even really do anything early on. He's just sort of pretty weak, I feel like. And so now Ohio State's like, all right, we're game 1, we won game 1. We're going to wait until the end of game 2 to completely make sure that we can close out this game. Because on the other side, I just don't feel like Minnesota has the same type of scaling. Yes, you have the Jinx. Yes, you have the Orianna, Seraphine. All those things scale, but I just don't feel like it's the same damage output, DPS, that Ohio State's going to bring.
I do see what you're saying, but I think it's tough to call right now. Like, looking at both comps, I actually think both of these are solid. In terms of OSU, I'm usually never a huge fan of the things like the Corki mid lane, and you really have to have certain things in place for it to be utilized effectively. And it'll be weird to see if they can do that, because again, Inferno, as we've seen on him playing things like Echo, where he likes just being on his own and doing like those really risky skirmishes to where he knows he has those abilities to be able to get out. And, whatever pressure he's drawing, it's a win for OSU wherever else they are on the map. But Corki's a little bit different, and I'm wanting to see, how that's actually utilized there in the mid lane. And then additionally, up in the top side, I'm so excited to see Chimp8 and Cyborg back on the same matchup, because, ooh, man, both of these players on these champions is actually super cool to see. Both of them are, it's strong, highly contested top laners that, makes the matchup interesting already, but the micro coming out from both of them was awesome coming from game 1. So we'll have to see, if that aggression is going to stay up. And I don't imagine that we're going to see the same amount of aggressions as we saw in the Lucian Braum lane from Steve and Moach. As we saw, it's probably going to be, Caitlyn's able to harass pretty well in lane, but I'm not really seeing a lot of kill potential out of Caitlyn Thresh. And it's going to have to be some jungle pressure from Chenua for the bot side to make sure that this Seraphine and Jinx don't get away with picking Seraphine Jinx, I guess.
Yeah, and, we saw Chenua on the Hecarim last game. He went into Fed last game, and so now it's a new jungler. So we've got sort of an X factor in this game, too, for the side of Minnesota. Is Weiss, I actually don't exactly remember how the name is spelled. Either way, on the Mundo, is he going to sort of bring that extra spice that Minnesota sort of needed in that early game and mid game? Because I feel like Skarner, once he had that ultimate, there wasn't really too many times where we saw it. Is Dr. Mundo with this massive ultimate that allows him to completely get like 2 or 3 extra health bars with the healing? At least it seems that way. I don't know exactly the stats there, but is he going to be able to be that same effectiveness or be more effective for the side of Minnesota? I'm just not exactly sure. And then, like you said, we'll have to see where these junglers apply that pressure, because I feel like that bottom lane, not really too much kill pressure really by either side until maybe we see some jungle action.
Right. I think, again, if there is going to be kill potential, it will be for the side of OSU's bot lane, but I just don't think, unless there is a literal perfect world where not only does, is Moach landing every single hook and flay, but, he's being hooked and flayed into different Caitlyn traps, and then there's somehow beating the sustain of a Seraphine, then that would be great. Right. But I think it's definitely a lot more guaranteed if they say, hey, listen, we're setting up for a gank, throw in Hecarim with the Lantern. That's going to be where I think the playmaking on the bot side of the map is going to have to come from. Because if we see a slow game, because again, we saw from game one, it ramped up quickly towards the end. But for the first 10 and 15 minutes, it was a little bit hesitant from both sides. And I'm a bit worried for OSU that if they do, just take a slow game and basically let Jinx and Seraphine scale with, the rest of the things complementing it, like the Orianna as well. It's going to be the Orianna Camille combo as well that OSU has to worry about. But if they let those champions get to their spikes, it could be devastating.
Yeah, and I even remember in LCS game last night on Jizuke running the Orianna full items, one shot 3 people just in the ultimate. So Orianna's definitely a champion. The people are like, oh, it's just a control mage. But that ball scales, like it will do a lot of damage. So I think you're right with that. But on the other side, like I commented, so it's sort of both sides of scaling. But I think that Minnesota's able to sort of generate a little bit of leads just with their comp a little bit earlier. And if they're able to do that and scale, they're going to scale much quicker than Ohio State because I feel like they might be able to snowball just a little bit faster. And yeah, they'll be way stronger. That Orianna ball, we definitely seen their mid laner from Minnesota on Syndra last game play well. We'll have to see how he's influential in a much more team fight oriented mid laner on the Orianna.
Yeah, we will indeed, and it does look like again the substitute, jungler coming out from Minnesota is Right Weiss, and otherwise the rest of the rosters are staying the same here. Taking a look at runes and stuff. Otherwise, we have been seeing as Corki is coming back into the mid lane, a lot of people going lethal tempo, really utilizing that passive magic damage just to see, a lot of it comes from the marksman items that we're seeing. A lot of times for the Corki mid, we're seeing Mortal Shield Bow. So the more times you're getting the autos off, the better that sustain plays out for you later on. And maybe it can keep them alive versus, the very scary threats that Minnesota does have. And there's already some poke down in the bot lane as Steve gets auto once and he says, all right, I'll throw a Q back in your face. See how that one feels.
Yeah, definitely not that same trade that we saw last game where the Lucian Braum blew up Little Chimp like half health right at the beginning. Just a little bit more, a little bit lighter trades, I guess you could say. Sort of still the same though.
I gotta tell you, this is I gotta respect PSO1. Pretty good skin taste with the Project Jinx. I think it's one of the better ones that have come out. I really like the sounds, like that rocket. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it definitely slightly just looks like Project Vayne to me, but like, I mean, I feel like all the sort of Project skins have got a similar taste. I definitely like that skin as well. The fighter pilot Corki, I forget exactly what that's called. Also,
really that's nice Red skin. Baron. Yeah, that's Red a classic one. Yeah, that's how you can tell someone's got taste. And I mean, what's a competitive match without showing off some of your skin taste? You're right.
Yeah, what's more important? Talking about maybe how these junglers are pathing or the skins. But to get onto the jungler, we see both of them sort of pathing towards bot side. We Right Weiss seems to be much quicker on the Mundo. I didn't actually know how that Mundo jungle, that clear speed is. Definitely very quick. He's almost a whole camp ahead of this Hecarim. And we're like we talked about, we're gonna see action in this bot lane. I think we're about to see this Mundo meet the bot lane early and try to look for a gank on the Mook and Steve here.
Well, something interesting about Mundo Jungle is particularly the runes that we usually see. We saw a series, I don't believe it was last week, but the week before, where it was a few different rune setups on Mundo, but I believe this is the most efficient, being the Fleet Footwork with the Inspiration Secondary, where if you take approach velocity and you hit a single cleaver, you're speedy. Like, it is very, very fast, and once he lands one cleaver, it's a bit hard to get away from that Mundo, as he... more than likely the Turbo Chem Tank going into, Dead Man's Plate and the other movement speed items to complement it. When it comes to, I mean, Caitlyn and Corki, actually, speaking of Caitlyn, oh my gosh, a great, headshot reset coming out after Moach was able to land the hook there. Little Chimp is so low, and Steve is actually being able to flash forward. That's going to be him getting the first blood. Moach landing the flay off on a Jinx, getting some more damage. They're not going to be able to pick him off unless the hook comes back up in time. But meanwhile, up on the top side, Right Weiss is trying to see if he can maybe gank Cyborg, but not just yet. But that, in the end, bot lane is going to be a victory for Steve picking up the first blood.
Connor, I seem to remember you talking about it. I think Cyborg's going to run into a big corporate mundo there. Not really going to die, but I think I seem to remember you talking about, a perfect hook, a perfect flay into a perfect trap. I think all those things literally just happened inside of Ohio State. And they picked up the kill. And then aggressively flash healing forward, getting the range, getting the auto attacks off. That was just some clean play from Ohio State's bot lane.
Up in the top side, though, we'll have to see how clean Cyborg is here as he manages to flash that cleaver. Right Weiss really just, he was contemplating diving for a second as Cyborg recalls in his face as a little bit of BM goes down. But yeah, no, it was actually very nice from both Steve and Moach to see that, they were able to utilize, again, not just the crowd control from Thresh, but we saw, the Seraphine land onto a trap, headshot. The Caitlyn net, headshot. Another, getting the actual passive auto, headshot. It's like, that is... that's textbook Caitlyn, and it's so it's so nice to see that, they were able to pull that off. And despite it having to cost a lot with Steve flash healing forward, it ended up being a big win for the bot lane.
Yeah, and I actually thought Chimp screwed up royally. They still had passive, and Cyborg did not have any mana. But now we see Chenua looking for Orianna in the mid lane. Doesn't have any mana.
Yeah, Goblito was in trouble despite having little Chimp there on the side. I actually don't think he needed to flash there in Chimp Ape, actually. Going for a very greedy freeze up there as he was dragging the wave along. But Cyborg is aware of what's going on as he's trying to push it under turret to the best of his ability. But the Camille does have the teleport available. As bot lane already, if we're taking a look at the CS numbers, a great CS lead by Steve right now. At about 55 to 33 as this wave is crashing under bot lane tower for Minnesota.
Yeah, and actually, if we just take a quick look, because we didn't get to talk about this earlier, was Chimp Ape is running the Cole on Camille in top lane. That's something that you don't often see. I think he played this exact lane last game, obviously. So he's like, okay, Cyborg sort of wants to farm, and I'll just sort of play into that style, building the Cole for himself. Obviously, he's already got the Sheen, which is such a nice pickup for Camille. But we'll have to see if that's going to be able to pay off for him, because Camille just sort of has this pretty good kill pressure early, and I feel like he's sacrificing that just to maybe scale himself.
It is interesting to see, and it's anytime a Cole is picked up, it doesn't matter if it's solo lane, dual lane, anything like that. As you mentioned, it does say a lot about, what their plans for the lane are. Even though he does have the Sheen, he's planning to go aggressive to some degree. It's still thinking like, okay, yeah, me and him kind of traded back and forth the entire lane, but if someone's going to end up, further ahead in this, I want to be that. And, Gragas being an AP champion, more than likely you're not going to see a call on him. We saw Cyborg actually likes to go tier on Gragas as well. So knowing that, hey, 400 gold is going to have to go to tier, and then, if I have this 450 on Cull and then I get the cash in on it, at that, 15 or so minute point in the game, you would actually be ahead depending on the status of plates.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. We actually might see a pretty big engagement here on the top side as Chenua is running into Right Weiss, but he's just has to watch all of his Krugs go away and actually take a pretty unfavorable trade in that. Thought we were about to see a full skirmish, but
that Mundo does damage. He has nothing but a bomb sender, but we saw Chenua get chunked there, and he's so very sad right now. Even though he's on his Raptors, he's actually, looking to see, or Mundo's actually seeing if he can go for another invade. The camera is not really capturing what's going on in the mid lane because it does look like a 2v2 could break out at any moment, but Inferno playing pretty safe in the Corki. Still no items on him to speak of just yet. As Moach lands a great hook into a flay into a box and a Q, and the Caitlyn headshot is going to be Steve taking out PSO1. But here comes Chimp Ape on the top side, is going to be able to see if he can get that ultimate to be able to buy him another second. But Cyborg with a solo kill up in the top lane as OSU starts his game off 3-0.
Yeah, and I was about to talk about how Right Weiss was actually able to just steal the red buff from under their nose, but it didn't really matter as two really great plays from the top side and the bot side for Ohio State. These outplays are just really hurting Minnesota. As now this gold lead is picking up. They've been able to pick up the dragon for themselves. I'll be interested to see if on this next reset that they might move up towards the top side again and try to capture that
Inferno.
Rift Arrow.
He's wanting to dive with the package. Chenua's here as well. PSO1 can't really get in there. The Caitlyn ult is going to bring Little Chimp down a little bit further. The unstoppable onslaught in the package. And actually, Jinx Rocket is actually going to be able to take down Chenua as he went a little too deep to be able to finish off that Seraphine, that 4-man dive, actually resulting in a little bit of gold going back to Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'll still take it because you're still picking up all these plates. Steve is getting so far ahead. Look at the CS gap. It's almost 30 in favor, and he actually has a full wave sitting for him here, so it's going to only get bigger. As Inferno might be in a little bit of pressure. I don't think Gobeto has really any pressure there. And so, yeah, Ohio State feeling really good at this point.
Yeah, it was a pretty nice shockwave to, kind of chunk Inferno out and let him know that, hey, listen, you were being pressured in this lane. You're picking Corki, you're picking this scaling type of marksman champion. It's like, I'm not going to let you get away with this. Being nearly 30 CS up on Inferno right now, Goblito does have a pretty good control of this mid lane right now, as Right Weiss is able to pop the Herald and realizes that Chenua would be here to respond and is taken to half health in almost the blink of an eye, as a few of the turret plates go down from the mid lane, but the turret is still up. And as you had mentioned with the bot lane CS, I mean, Steve is about to have 10 CS a minute, which is like, and again, this is a C-Law game. This is a competitive match. This isn't a scrim or something. Knocking out 10 CS a minute at 10 minutes almost is pretty nasty.
Yeah, Steve is dang good. Like, every time we see this guy play, he's just always really popping off. And, I mean, the Caitlyn mechanics we've seen, he's just been so clean. As now Mach is looking for the fight.
He's upset. The Seraphine ult does go down, and poor Jinx getting hooked up is not going to be able to do anything. And that's going to be the best Steve on another killing spree with a full Gale Force finished. And OSU is looking good for this game, too. But Chenua, he keeps running into Right Weiss, and Right Weiss is in the right place at the right time, or white place at the white. Actually, no. So I mean, otherwise 3-0 on this Caitlyn right now. Steve, having such a good lead over this bot lane. There's one turret plate left down there. It's such a dominating performance right now, and again, it's like the turret plates are still up for another 2 or 3 minutes, excuse me. And they're already taking over this bot side. They're about to have the second dragon. Like, you have to ask yourselves, like, what's going on in Minnesota's minds right now?
Yeah, they really have put themselves in a deficit, like you said. I mean, I don't really know what the Mundo is going to be able to do, because you sort of want to get ahead on this Mundo. You want to just be the first one at the objective and just be so tanky that the enemy team can't even walk into that objective territory. But now that he's like the only one that's sort of Gobeto is even in the mid lane, but all these other lanes are just not working for him. I don't really know what you do as Minnesota besides sort of maybe try to get a pick, rotate some laners. You want to grab Steve. He's got a big shutdown, but during this laning phase, it's sort of hard to do something like that.
I actually want to make a note of this because I love it so much when teams do this. We see that not only did bot lane, they took that turret, they were able to push out the wave a bit, but instantly we saw Steve, Moch, and Cyborg all recall at the same time. They were in the base at the same time, and they instantly do that swap. Caitlyn Thresh up in the top side, Grog's in the bot side. Like, it's those... a lot of times it's muscle memory for these teams, and they just know, like, hey, this is the right macro move to be able to utilize our lead to the best of our ability. But it's just the fact that it's done without hesitation. Like, they've done this before. They know exactly. They're like, listen, you're going down there. We're going up here. We're going to keep this lead rolling.
Yeah, and I even got to highlight it a little bit before all that dive and all that action happened in the bot lane. But yeah, I think Ohio State is really good at doing that, where they make this rotation. That's something you said, they all recall at the exact same time. That's something that's actually a lot more important than you would think, because anytime anyone recalls in League, it's actually decreasing your whole pressure over the map, because there's one person not actually playing on the map. So if you guys leave all together, then you're not limiting that, as Little Chip is looking for it, but I think Ohio State's the ones pitching the other team out here.
Little Chip trying to find a pick, and unfortunately picks off his own Jinx as Chenua realizes the position they're in. The Ghost and the ult are popped, and that's going to be, poor PSO1 having his third death of the game. Is again a lot of times, and again in solo queue, a lot of the joke is jungle gap and stuff like that, but this is one big bot gap so far.
Yeah, you're just like bot diff, as Right Weiss actually might be able to do something here. The teleport coming in for Cyborg is probably going to dispel this, as
Yeah, the shockwave comes out from Goblito, does manage to make it so Cyborg can't really participate, but the package is going to be able to burn Right Wise down. And, you know, a lot of damage comes out from the Jinx ult. Mach is very low, but Chenua is still looking at Chimp here. You know, he's a little bit scared, does manage to get the hook shot over the wall, and not much else is going to go down. And again, it's 7-1 right now, and OSU just has so much control over this game.
I believe Inferno just knocked Right Wise out of his flash, as Cyborg just continues the action.
Chimp Ape is a little upset. You're not going to be able to Lancer now versus the Camille, but the death sentence does land. Goblito's able to take down Cyborg, and now he has Chenua to deal with. There's no unstoppable onslaught available. Little Chimp is here. Is he going to be able to get the heal off the flash over? But that's going to be Steve picking up a double kill. Moch not going to be able, or Moch is not going to be able to land that last death sentence with that flash. But again, they're, you know, just like last game when we saw in their base, they're almost playing with their food at this point.
Right, you know, honestly, Moch will forgive, well, his team will forgive him for that one mishook because he's been honestly locked down this entire game, hitting every single one that he's really tried to get here. As Inferno with a little bit of BM, actually very far ahead on this Corki. He's got that little bit of CS deficit, but, you know, at this point in game, 15 minutes, you should not be having a shutdown on Corki. You should still be just farming up, but he's been able to do a lot with these packages to bring his team or net his team some crucial kills.
And it's, you know, what we talk about in draft, where when you're picking certain champions, you're asking yourself, what is my role? What is the utility and the options that I have available to bring to my team? And Corki, while doing massive amounts of damage, especially in that mid to late game status where he actually does have almost all of his items, the package is such a, you know, we haven't seen a lot of Corki recently, and I think a lot of people forgot how absolutely disgusting the package is. I mean, you know, it's why we saw Rumble in competitive for so many years, because the ultimate is just so very, you know, I wouldn't even say hard to deal with, it's just very threatening, and we've seen that Inferno has been able to utilize that so far as they look at Herald, but Right Weiss is not going to let Chenua get away, and actually the Seraphine ult appears to go through him almost. PSO1 gets hooked up, but he's still going to be able to get some autos off. Moch is actually going to be able to take down Right Weiss. Inferno is here on the backside, and that's going to be the unstoppable onslaught, resulting in the flash coming out from PSO1, getting himself to safety, but still 4 members, and Moch actually giving Minnesota the thumbs down as they just pick up kill after kill.
I mean, emotes are coming in fast and furious by the side of Ohio State here. I feel like I've only seen emotes like every time anything happens. As now they're trying to crack down this mid tower. We're going to see Chenua pick up the Rift Herald, and Ohio State in a very good position. The scoreline is 2-11, 2 towers and 2 dragons in favor of them. As the next dragon, the 3rd dragon, is coming up in 5 seconds.
You would mention emotes, Kyle, and something that was a little bit interesting to me is that we saw in game 1, Minnesota's AD carry, PSO1, was actually emoting a lot in lane. It was a bit more, it wasn't like BM emotes a lot, it was mainly just, you know, like, ah, haha, I'm silly, right? And ever since that game 1, and, you know, having this, you know, borderline miserable time on Jinx so far, not a single emote has come out. He's like, you know, that smile is probably wiped off his face a little bit. He's like, all right, okay. And then as soon as we see that, I love seeing Moch actually, you know, throw down some BM a little bit. I love banter that is able to be, you know, thrown down here. I think it's, you know, there's nothing wrong with it at all, because it kind of gets you fired up. And I mean, right now, with a, you know, nearly 7K, or excuse me, 6K gold lead rather for OSU, I mean, you kind of have a right at this game too, to where you're about to get into playoffs. If you're able to close out this game, like, you know, it feels good to be able to look in the enemy team's face and be like, haha, we gotcha.
Yeah, and absolutely, like, you know, this is a strong performance by Ohio State. The game's not over. They still have to close it out, but, you know, if they make it through this, they're going to go into playoffs, and the teams that are going to have to match them are going to have to watch these VODs. Ohio State, you know, Steven Mock with the Thresh, with the Caitlyn, looking so clean on those mechanics they have together. You have to be very scared. But also to your point of PSO5, I think his emo key must have broken or something, because that's the only explanation.
Oh wait, there he goes. Yeah,
I have to shut
there
up
he
because
goes.
it just worked for him. Oh man. And yeah, so now we just see Ohio State trying to crack open this mid tower, so then they can start, you know, push up some wards, try to get some more vision, and just continue to, you know, really get a stranglehold of this game.
So what's Minnesota's game plan? Like right now, again, it's 2-11. You're down a considerable amount of gold. Looking at their team comp, what do they need to do to win this? Like, how do they get their footing back?
Yeah, and we actually just saw Camille pick up that training for his last fight. Was still in really good position, but wasn't able to do any damage. Camille's still a strong pick for Chip Ape. He's just got to, you got to play around these, you know, the initiation from Chimp or from Right Weiss, the follow up from Gobetto on the Oriana. Basically, you just need the perfect team fight where you're engaging and picking off the priority members from Ohio State. You're not completely out of this, but if Ohio State's engaging,
they decide to start that off. The Jinx Cleanse isn't going to be doing anything. That Gragas Cask, actually, another beautiful one, is going to bring Right Weiss back into the members of OSU. They instantly take out 2 members of Minnesota with ease as they pop this Rift Herald now, seeing what they could get here at 19 minutes, not even breaking that 20-minute point of the game. Yeah, ooh, actually, Shockwave, I thought something spicy would have happened, but not quite, not quite. Actually, Cyborg, he's looking to see if he can get a fight going. You know, it does pop the Chem Tank, and another death sentence lands. Moch is insane as Chimpave is able to use that Camille ult to buy him a second, but it's not going to be enough. Steve pops that heal as actually OSU, instead of going for that inhibitor, the Jinx ult not going to be able to take down the carries of OSU, but they're going to, you know, take the little victory they got from that push and, you know, just try to see if they can close this game out as they have Soul Point to worry about.
Yeah, and now this game's actually in a much tougher position. The mid's completely cracked open. Now Ohio State, all they have to do is push out that mid wave, fight for mid pressure, and then just rotate to Dragon whenever they want. I think this is so much easier for them to, you know, grab this Soul Point than it was, you know, when those towers were available. And for the side of Minnesota, like I said, they need to be the one taking any fight that they could possibly win. Because if they're not taking the fight, they're just going to get bursted out, and then their CC and their burst damage will just not be there once one of their members is gone. And I don't really know how you make these fights happen when you're so far behind, but Minnesota's got to somehow, you know, bring it up if they have really any hope to bring this game back.
You know, I got so excited for this Jinx pick, too. I was, oh, man.
The Rockets have almost picked up a couple here, you know.
It's been close, and again, I think it does show the potential of the champion. And, you know, it's so hard to do anything when the rest of your team is so far behind. I mean, he even has 1 stack left of his cull. Like, that's heartbreaking. And OSU isn't even worried about that as they're 5-manning Baron right now. Gorky did teleport with his package available. Baron's at about 3k, and no one's contesting it. It's actually going to be, you know, completely fine as they, you know, they're looking towards this, and the Dragon coming up in about 50 seconds. If they pick up this Soul, I mean, c'est la vie.
Yeah, seriously, there's 50 seconds. You got the Corky package. Actually, I don't remember exactly how long. I do not think you'll still have it before that Dragon, so they might want to look to make a pick. But honestly, like I said, Ohio State, all they have to do right now is to get these pressure in some of these sideways, make sure you have the mid pressure, rotate right back to Dragon, and then you have the Soul. And from there, I mean, they're at a really good point. I would like to see them, you know, take a little bit more use of this Baron because there's 30 seconds before Dragon. But either way, they're still playing to their effectiveness as Cyborg might be caught out.
Cyborg has taken 3 ultimate abilities of Minnesota right now as rest of the members of OSU are actually looking towards this mid inhib. They know there's not a lot for them to respond to that, knowing that there's the Camille ult, the Oriana ult, and the Jinx ult, all for that Gragas. Poor Cyborg up to the top lane is telling his team, like, guys, I got TP. I'm going to push up this top wave a little bit, get us in, you know, position for a mid siege, and just instantly punished.
Right, and I think that there's actually a little bit of ramifications. Hold on,
this could be a Seraphine ult. If he's able to hit it, he isn't able to hit a single person in that choke. That could have been it for Minnesota right there. I saw, oh my gosh, I saw that play.
You're about to call that. That would have been insane, you know, hitting up 3, or even just Steve alone would have been so important. Just trying to grab one more before that Dragon, because then you could have contested for the Dragon. Either way, that Soul has gone over to Ohio State.
He has flash too, dude. Like, little Chimp has flash. That was the game-winning play. Like, especially you're down this far. It's 14-3. Like, you have a champion that has a game-winning ultimate ability. Like, you don't even have to do anything else in your champion. You hit several people with your ult, it can actually just turn the tides of a fight. And to just not, like... it makes you sad to actually see nothing done about that one. Because, again, like, one flash ult from the Seraphine... Not only does Minnesota win the fight more than likely, they're able to prevent OSU from getting the Soul and then probably stalls them out, you know, taking away, you know, the Baron off the members that OSU has and then just giving them more time. But now instead they have to worry about 5 members of OSU knocking at their door right now, taking down this mid inhib, and there's really nothing they can do. Moch constantly looking for these death sentences to see if they can capitalize on anything more, but just going to walk away with Soul in hand and mid inhib down.
Yep, and Baron's still wearing on a couple of these members. I think, actually, all of them except for Cyborg. He's the only one that's really died in the last, like, 10 minutes from Ohio State. And so now they're just going to try to crack open these towers. Like you said, you know, Little Chimp's got to be more aggressive with his ultimate because his game winning. But now in all 5, I don't know if you're really able to take that much effectiveness out of it.
I mean,
yeah,
the carries are so far behind too. I mean, 1 and 4 on Jinx, and at 23 minutes in, almost 24, only having the Kraken Slayer. I mean, look at Steve right now with Gale Force, Infinity Edge, Phantom Dancer. Like, this guy, you know, probably by himself, he doesn't get jumped on too heavily, could probably just kill all 5 of Minnesota. And Jinx isn't having that same damage right now, despite having the utility of the Orianna Seraphine. So again, it has to be a perfect team fight for Minnesota to be able to pull something back here.
Right, and there's even a 2-level deficiency from Steve and PS01. So, like you said, the damage there, the items are not there, the levels aren't there. I mean, you're just not going to have nearly the same amount of damage output, DPS, when it comes into these full 5-on-5s. So Minnesota's got to really just pray their lucky stars that they're able to hold on maybe a little bit longer. Because, you know, at the Infernal Dragon, we did see Chenua miss Smite, so there's a chance. Like, that's my next dream for Minnesota is like, okay, maybe they steal the or the Elder. But that's like, you know, that's just a dream, right?
I mean, even looking at Mundo right now, as someone that is full tank, has nothing but the Chem Tank and the Bramble, like, he doesn't look that tanky.
Right. No, he's not that...
Ooh. The Shockwave onto Steve actually does a lot of damage, but here's Chenua and Cyborg. They're upset that they're trying to take out their little buddy, and there goes their little buddy. Little Chimp falls, and Gobledo trying to kite the best he can. A lot of damage is coming out from the Orianna. The Camillo goes down, but Death Sentence is going to result in the bestie being godlike and a shutdown. Actually going over to Gobledo as poor Moch, you know, despite setting up those kills, does manage to make the sacrifice. But here they are trying to take down this bot lane turret. And a flash from the bestie with a Gale Force, and the Corky Rocket is going to take out the Jinx. Oh my goodness, OSU is just styling on him as now they're taking out their base. 18-4 now, the only one left alive is Gobledo. Little Chimp is here to see if he can respond, but I don't think there is anything they can do as OSU finishes off this game 2. Cyborg almost falling, but it's just not enough as the Ohio State University take down Minnesota.
Yep, the Ohio State has won this series, and now they're going to move on to the playoffs. Some really good execution from them in Game 1 and Game 2. Like I talked about, those outplays, that really set the edge for them, especially in that bot lane. And Steve, you know, he's so aggressive sometimes, making such good plays. I mean, he's just so good on almost any AD carry we've seen so far. And just really, really standing out performance from him this game.
I tell you, man, for like shows like this where we have to get a mic check going, because I want to hear, like, there had to be a symphony of just consistent laughter with that last call to PS01. I mean, to see the Gale Force headshot from Steve into a Corky Rocket from Inferno, like, there's no way that they are just completely just, oh my gosh, I would be losing it.
Yeah,
I'd be losing it.
And the amount of burns in this game are somehow ticking down damage. I don't even know where they come from sometimes. I'm pretty sure that headshot would have still ticked him down because he was like 1 HP. And
so it does look like that, you know, the Ohio State University is going to make it to the playoffs for CLOL, actually eliminating, you know, the University of Minnesota. And again, that's why, you know, this game was so significant. And man, what a, you know, performance it was. That, you know, Game 1, it looked, you know, it was a little bit slower, but man, that Game 2, you know, OSU took a lead and they ran with it. Yeah. So again, it was a, you know, fantastic match to be able to broadcast here, you know, for the Ohio State esports channel. And, you know, honestly, it's fantastic to see. And again, looking forward to the playoff games that we're going to be able to look forward to now.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State, if they can bring the performance, like I said, teams are going to have to watch that VOD of the solo kill coming out for bot lane, just so many great plays, Cyborg hitting every single perfect ult like you could even think of, and just the, you know, that momentum going into the playoffs. They're 5-1. They're not at the very top, but they're still definitely a formidable team. So we'll have to see how they do next week. As you know, I believe it's still another single elimination. So if they lose next week, they're out. But if they continue to progress through this playoff, they could really make a run, which I'm excited to watch.
And I am as well. And for anyone else that is watching, you know, being able to be a fan of the Ohio State esports, you know, it's fantastic to, you know, root or cheer these guys on. You know, they put so much time and effort into it every day, and we're definitely seeing the results. But otherwise, a fantastic series versus University of Minnesota. For those watching, thank you so much for watching and being in support of our university. For those that have not followed yet, please do follow to be able to catch any of the future games, whether it be for League of Legends, Rocket League, Overwatch, or any of the other games that will be hosted on this channel, to make sure you don't miss out on any of that. And as we're getting to wrap things up, Kyle, is there anything you want to finish this off with tonight?
I mean, as always, I'm just excited to, cast with you, Connor. It's always a ton of fun. Some great action from our Ohio State players. But just beyond that, I mean, next week, hopefully we'll get to watch some more action.
Yep, couldn't agree more, man. So the Ohio State University takes down University of Minnesota 2-0 tonight. And again, for those watching, thank you so much for watching. And otherwise, we will see you for the next broadcast. Again, be sure to follow our social medias, whether that be Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Ohio State Esports. Make sure you keep up to date with our schedule, see when the games are going to be played, so you can help cheer on the university. But otherwise, again, my name was Connor, being joined here by Kyle, and again, we hope you have a great rest of your night.